The Nexus Riftgate stood as humanity's crowning achievement, a towering marvel of engineering that pierced the sky, its glowing rings swirling with faint energy patterns. Positioned in the heart of Luna's shimmering silverlight colony, the Riftgate was humanity's key to unlocking the multiverse. The unveiling ceremony was broadcast live to billions across Earth and its colonies. Drones buzzed around, capturing every angle of the monumental moment, while the colony streets were alive with cheers. Dr. Ilara Voss stood at the control station, flanked by her team of scientists and technicians. Her pulse raced, though her demeanor remained composed. After years of calculations, setbacks, and political hurdles, today would mark the first fully functional activation of the Riftgate. She couldn't let her nerves show, not with world leaders, corporate magnates, and her peers all watching. Stabilization protocols are holding steady, murmured Lynn, her lead engineer, scanning the streams of data cascading across the holographic displays. Begin power-up sequence, Ilara ordered, her voice firm. The Riftgate roared to life, the concentric rings spinning faster as energy beams connected the arcs, creating a swirling vortex of iridescent light. A collective gasp echoed through the crowd. Even Ilara allowed herself a moment of awe. This wasn't just a doorway to other dimensions, it was a testament to human ingenuity. And then it happened. The vortex's light intensified, shifting from a mesmerizing dance of colors to a blinding, chaotic storm. Warning alarms blared across the control room as the readings spiked beyond safe limits. "Energy levels are off the charts," Lynn shouted. "This isn't in the simulations." "Shut it down," Ilara barked. "It's not responding. There's an external force interfacing with the system." Before Ilara could react, the vortex erupted, a shockwave of energy cascading outward. The crowd screamed as shimmering humanoid figures stepped through the rift, their bodies composed of radiant light and flickering patterns. Their forms were beautiful yet unsettling, their very presence sending waves of distortion through the air. The Riftborn had arrived. At first, the figures stood motionless, their gaze scanning the crowd. Ilara felt an eerie silence fall over the colony, as if the world itself was holding its breath. She stepped forward, instinctively trying to address them. "Can you understand us?" she asked, her voice amplified by the station's speakers. One Riftborn tilted its head, a gesture almost human. For a fleeting moment, Ilara thought they might communicate. But then the lead figure raised its hand, unleashing a wave of energy that ripped through the colony. Buildings shattered, and drones plummeted from the sky as the Riftborn's power surged uncontrollably. "Defensive measures now," a security officer shouted, but the human weapons had no effect. Amid the chaos, Ilara's mind raced. This wasn't an invasion. It felt too erratic, too uncontrolled. These beings weren't attacking with purpose. They were responding to something, like a wound reopening and bleeding into reality. As emergency evacuation protocols activated, Ilara's gaze fixed on the Riftgate. The vortex pulsed erratically, its energy destabilizing further. She couldn't shake the feeling that whatever had happened wasn't an accident. Someone, or something, had interfered. And now, the fate of two worlds hung in the balance. The aftermath of the Riftborn's arrival was a scene of devastation. Luna's Silverlight colony, once a shining jewel of human progress, lay in ruins. Emergency crews worked tirelessly, pulling survivors from the wreckage as the glow of fires illuminated the shattered landscape. Earth and its colonies were thrown into a state of emergency, with leaders scrambling to understand what had happened. Dr. Ilara Voss, now under intense scrutiny, found herself confined to a secure debriefing room on Luna Base Alpha. Screens in the room replayed footage of the Riftborn's assault on a loop, the shimmering forms wreaking havoc across the colony. The door hissed open, and Admiral Marcus Chen, head of Earth's Interstellar Defense Command, entered. His uniform was immaculate, but his expression was stormy. "Dr. Voss," he said, his voice clipped, What the hell were those things? They called themselves the Riftborn, Elara replied, struggling to keep her tone steady. They weren't part of the Riftgate's original plan. Something interfered. You're saying this was sabotage? I don't know yet, she admitted, but I need access to the Riftgate's logs. We were establishing a stable connection when their energy signatures overwhelmed the system. Chen crossed his arms. Overwhelmed? They turned one of our most secure colonies into rubble in minutes. Our weapons didn't even scratch them. You're lucky you're not in custody for this. Elara bristled but held her ground. Locking me up won't solve the problem. If we don't figure out how to stabilize the rift, this won't just be a Luna problem. It could destabilize Spacetime itself. Before Chen could respond, the room's comm system buzzed to life. Admiral, you need to see this, came the voice of a junior officer. A large screen blinked on, displaying a live feed from Earth. Across multiple cities, shimmering Riftborn were appearing seemingly at random. Unlike the initial assault, some of these figures stood motionless, observing their surroundings. Others moved through walls and structures as if they didn't exist in the same physical plane. Elara's stomach sank. They're not attacking this time, she said quietly. Chen frowned. Why? As if to answer, the feed shifted to a group of Riftborn in New York. One stepped forward, its shimmering form stabilizing into something resembling humanoid armor. It raised a hand, and an otherworldly voice boomed through the city. We are the Riftborn, it said. Your interference has torn the veil. The rift collapses, and with it, all worlds will end. Assist us or perish. The message sent shockwaves through Earth's networks. The peaceful overture was enough to convince some that the Riftborn could be reasoned with, but others, including Chen, remained unconvinced. They demand our help after attacking us, he growled. Unacceptable. We seal the rift, destroy the gate, and neutralize any of these things left in our space. Elara shook her head vehemently. If we seal the rift without stabilizing it first, it'll collapse catastrophically. Their warnings aren't just threats, they're telling the truth. We need to work with them. Chen's eyes narrowed. Work with the beings that just decimated one of our colonies? You're insane, Dr. Voss. The room fell silent as the weight of the decision loomed. Trusting the Riftborn could mean saving humanity or damning it. Sealing the rift might avert immediate disaster, but would close off a gateway to untold opportunities. As Chen stormed out, Elara knew she had to act. Whether the Riftborn were friend or foe, one truth was clear. Humanity's survival depended on understanding their message. And if the Riftborn were right, the clock was already ticking. The tension in Earth's governing council chamber was palpable, the room illuminated by the holographic projections of Luna's destruction and the Riftborn's cryptic warning. Diplomats, military leaders, and corporate representatives argued over the best course of action. The council's vast amphitheater echoed with heated voices. This is a matter of survival, barked Admiral Marcus Chen. We shut down the rift gate, seal the rift, and eliminate any Riftborn remaining in our space. No compromises. And risk collapsing the rift entirely, countered Dr. Elara Voss, standing at the center podium. The Riftborn are partially right. If the rift destabilizes further, it could cause a chain reaction that destroys our dimension as well. We have to stabilize it, not destroy it. A corporate delegate sneered. How convenient for you, Dr. Voss. The Riftgate is your creation, after all. Tell me, should we trust the architect of this disaster to solve it? Elara felt the weight of their suspicion, but held firm. This isn't about me. It's about science. We don't have the luxury of ignorance. The Riftborn factions aren't united. Some want to work with us. Others see us as a threat. We need to act intelligently, or we'll all pay the price. The debate raged for hours. Ultimately, a fragile agreement was reached. A ceasefire with the Riftborn factions willing to cooperate. while military forces fortified Earth's colonies against potential attacks. But as the council adjourned, Ilara noticed something unsettling. Several key figures seemed too eager to avoid stabilizing the rift entirely, their motivations veiled in cryptic remarks and sidelong glances. Later, in her private quarters, Ilara pored over the Riftgate logs. With Lynn's help, she accessed encrypted files buried deep in the system, files that shouldn't have existed. As they unraveled the data, a chilling realization emerged. Someone had tampered with the Riftgate's core algorithms before activation. This wasn't just a malfunction, Lynn said, his voice barely above a whisper. Someone sabotaged the gate to force it into overdrive. But why? Ilara asked, her mind racing. What could anyone gain from triggering a dimensional breach? A notification interrupted them, a summons from an anonymous source. The message contained a single sentence. Meet me at sublevel 17, Bay 4. Come alone. Ilara descended into the underbelly of Luna Base Alpha, her heart pounding. Sublevel 17 was restricted to military personnel, but her credentials as a Riftgate scientist granted her access. The air grew colder as she reached Bay 4, its dim lighting casting long shadows. A figure emerged from the gloom, a man in a dark uniform, his face partially obscured by a hood. He extended a data drive toward her. You need to see this, he said, his voice low and urgent. Ilara hesitated but accepted the drive. As she loaded it onto her handheld device, files and schematics filled her screen. Her breath caught. The data outlined a device called the Oblivion Engine, capable of harnessing and weaponizing Rift energy. This could destroy entire dimensions, Ilara whispered. The man nodded, and it's already under construction. The Dominion Initiative is behind it. High-ranking officials, corporate elites, and military hardliners. They're using the Rift as a testbed for this weapon. Ilara's blood ran cold. The Dominion Initiative had been a fringe conspiracy theory, whispered about but never proven. Now, their intentions were clear. Harness the Rift's power to dominate not just humanity, but the multiverse itself. If they succeed, they'll destroy everything, the man said. The Riftborn, the Rift itself, maybe even us. You have to stop them. As Ilara returned to her quarters, her mind was a whirlwind of dread and determination. The Rift wasn't just an accident, it was a weapon in the making. Now she had a new mission: expose the Dominion Initiative and prevent the Oblivion Engine's completion. But the question loomed, who could she trust? Ilara paced the dimly lit operations room, her team assembled around her. Lynn, her trusted engineer, stood next to Lieutenant Karen Yale, a disillusioned soldier who had joined their cause after witnessing the Dominion Initiative's ruthlessness firsthand. Beside them were the Riftborn defectors, Tarask, a luminous being with a deep understanding of Rift energy, and Callan, a smaller Riftborn who displayed an uncanny affinity for human technology. We're going after the Oblivion Engine, Ilara declared, her voice resolute. The room fell silent. Are you serious? Kara asked, incredulous. It's being built inside a Dominion black site. It's the most secure facility in the system. It doesn't matter, Ilara replied. If they activate that weapon, they'll annihilate the Riftborn, collapse the Rift, and possibly destroy our entire dimension. We don't have the luxury of caution. Tarask's luminous form pulsed softly. Your plan is reckless, but necessary. The engine's energies disrupt even our existence. If it is not stopped, all will perish. Ilara turned to Lynn, who projected a hologram of the Dominion facility, a sprawling complex built into the icy surface of Europa. The base was heavily fortified, with anti-orbital defenses and a fleet of Dominion enforcers patrolling its perimeter. This isn't a suicide mission, Lynn said, pointing to a weak point in the schematics. The engine core is housed deep underground. If we infiltrate the facility, we can overload the energy conduits, destroying the engine before it's fully operational. "And how exactly do we get in?" Kara asked, arms crossed. Alara glanced at Kellen, who produced a handheld device glowing with Riftborn energy. "This device," Kellen explained, their voice resonating with layered tones, "can disrupt Dominion scanners for a short time. It will grant us entry, if used correctly." "Short time," Kara muttered. "Great. Just enough to get us all killed." The mission began under the cover of Europa's eternal night. The team approached the Dominion facility in a stealth shuttle, its hull coated with Riftborn energy to evade detection. As the icy moon surface loomed closer, Kalline activated the disruption device, its energy field wrapping the shuttle like a shimmering cloak. The shuttle landed silently near a maintenance hatch. Alara and her team disembarked, their breath visible in the frigid air. Kara led the way, her military training evident as she swiftly bypassed the hatch's security. Inside, the facility was a labyrinth of sterile corridors and humming machinery. The team moved with precision, avoiding patrolling guards and automated drones. Kellen interfaced with the Dominion systems, their Riftborn appendages glowing as they bypassed security protocols with ease. The tension rose as they neared the engine's chamber. The air grew heavy, charged with unstable energy. Tarask paused, their form flickering erratically. "The engine is active," Tarask warned. "It has begun drawing power from the rift." Alara's stomach dropped. "We're running out of time. Move." They reached the core, a colossal structure of glowing conduits and pulsating nodes. The Oblivion engine sat at the center, a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to consume light itself. Dominion operatives worked tirelessly at control panels, oblivious to the intruders. "Take them out quietly," Kara ordered, signaling to her team. Within moments, the operatives were neutralized. Alara approached the engine, her fingers dancing across the interface. "The energy levels are massive," she muttered. "If we destabilize the conduits, it'll trigger a chain reaction and destroy the entire facility." "And us," Kara added grimly. "Not if we time it right," Alara replied. "Kellen, help me override the core protocols. Tarask, monitor the rift's stability. Lynn, prep the escape route." As the team worked, alarms blared across the facility. The Dominion had discovered their presence. Automated defenses activated, and a squad of heavily armed soldiers stormed the chamber. "Hold them off," Alara shouted. Kara and Lynn returned fire, their weapons barely holding the soldiers at bay. Kellen worked furiously alongside Alara, their combined efforts causing the engine to flicker erratically. "It's ready," Kellen exclaimed. Alara slammed the final override. "Go!" The countdown started. The team fought their way back to the shuttle as explosions rocked the facility. Behind them, the Oblivion engine's core erupted in a brilliant cascade of energy, consuming the entire complex in a cataclysmic collapse. As the shuttle raced away from Europa, Alara gazed out at the void, her relief tempered by the knowledge that the Dominion initiative wouldn't stop here. Their fight was far from over. The shuttle's cramped interior was silent, save for the hum of its engines and the distant crackle of Europa's fiery aftermath. Alara sat in the co-pilot's seat, her gaze fixed on the swirling void outside. The mission had been a success, the Oblivion engine destroyed, the Dominion's immediate plans thwarted, but the weight of what they'd uncovered pressed heavily on her mind. Across from her, Kara wiped down her weapon, her jaw tight. "We got out alive," she said, breaking the silence. "But I'd bet my last credit the Dominion isn't done with this." "They're not," Alara replied, her tone grim. "This was just the beginning. The Riftgate wasn't just sabotaged for chaos. They wanted this. The rift itself is their key to something bigger." Lynn, seated nearby, raised an eyebrow. "Bigger than a weapon capable of collapsing dimensions." "Yes," Alara said, her voice steady despite the enormity of her realization. "The Riftgate logs I've decrypted point to more than just military conquest." The Dominion Initiative isn't just harnessing the rift, they're looking for something within it. Tarask, their glowing form faintly pulsating, spoke for the first time since the escape. The Riftborn archives speak of ancient entities dwelling beyond the rift, beings of immense power. If your Dominion seeks them, they court annihilation, not victory. Kara scoffed. Great! More unstoppable threats. Just what we needed. Kellen's voice, soft yet resonant, cut through the tension. There's a way to learn the truth. The Riftborn maintain hidden archives, vaults of knowledge scattered across dimensions. One lies near this system, concealed within a dying star. It holds records that may reveal the Dominion's true intentions. Ilara leaned forward. You're saying we can find answers there? What's the risk? Callan tilted their head, their glowing appendages twitching. The vault exists in a plane of unstable energy. It will not welcome intruders, even allies. Of course it won't, Kara muttered. Why make anything easy? The team refueled at a remote outpost on the edge of the Sol system, avoiding Dominion-controlled territories. Ilara worked tirelessly alongside Kellen and Lynn, preparing the shuttle for the journey into the dying star's dimensional rift. In the quiet moments, Ilara found herself poring over the decrypted files from the Oblivion engine site. The schematics and logs painted a grim picture. The Dominion Initiative wasn't just a faction. It was an alliance of corporate powerhouses, rogue militaries, and shadowy figures from Earth's upper echelons. One name appeared repeatedly in the files: Director Elias Ormond. Ormond was a ghost, no public records, no official affiliations. Yet his influence was woven through the Dominion's operations. He's the key, Ilara said aloud, her voice carrying in the shuttle's small cockpit. To what? Lynn asked, leaning over her shoulder. To all of this, she replied. The sabotage, the Riftborn's arrival, the Oblivion engine, it all points back to him. If we can expose Ormond, we can dismantle the Dominion. Lynn frowned. And if we can't? Ilara didn't answer. The journey to the Riftborn vault began under the flickering light of a dying star. The shuttle systems strained against the gravitational pull and the chaotic energy waves emanating from the rift. As they approached the vault, Callan guided them through a shimmering field of distorted space. The vault itself came into view, a massive crystalline structure suspended in the heart of the star's collapsing core. The team disembarked cautiously, their movements slow in the low-gravity environment. The vault's entrance shimmered with a barrier of pure energy, its surface pulsing in response to their presence. Tarask stepped forward, their luminous form resonating with the barrier's energy. It recognizes us, they said, but it will test you, humans. Only those worthy may pass. What happens if we fail? Kara asked wearily. Tarask didn't reply. Ilara took a deep breath and stepped forward, her resolve firm. The barrier rippled as it scanned her, and for a brief moment, she felt her mind flooded with visions, fragments of her past, humanity's triumphs and failures, and glimpses of the Riftborn's history. When the barrier parted, Ilara knew this was only the beginning. The truths hidden within the vault could change everything, or doom them all. The crystalline interior of the Riftborn vault was breathtaking. Its walls shimmered with a kaleidoscope of shifting light, each hue resonating with an unearthly hum. Ilara and her team moved cautiously, the surreal environment making every step feel like wading through liquid starlight. Callan and Tarask led the way, their forms glowing brighter in the presence of the vault's energy. The archives respond to us, Tarask explained, their voice soft yet commanding. But they will challenge you to prove your intentions. Define challenge, Kara muttered, her hand hovering near her weapon. Before anyone could respond, the vault's interior transformed. The shimmering walls projected images, memories not of humans but of the Riftborn. Ilara and the others were surrounded by scenes of an ancient war, vast and cataclysmic, fought between the Riftborn and beings of incomprehensible power. Ilara froze, transfixed. "These are the entities beyond the rift," she whispered. "The ones the Dominion is trying to reach." The projection shifted to show a crystalline structure similar to the Rift Gate, surrounded by Riftborn struggling to stabilize its energy. The scene ended in an explosion of light, the kind that felt disturbingly familiar. "Their war destabilized the rift," Callan explained, their voice layered with sorrow. "We contained it, sacrificing many of our kind. But your Dominion initiative threatens to unseal what we buried." The team pressed forward, the vault's pathways guiding them deeper into its heart. As they advanced, the shimmering light began to focus on Alara, scanning her every thought and memory. The vault's central chamber opened before them, revealing a massive crystalline console. It pulsed with energy, its intricate facets forming patterns that seemed alive. Alara approached cautiously, her mind buzzing with fragments of the vault's projections. Callan stood beside her, their appendages extending toward the console. "This is the knowledge you seek," Callan said. "But it requires a price. Your mind must endure the weight of its truth." "Let me," Tarask offered. "The information may shatter a human psyche." Alara shook her head. "If we're going to stop the Dominion, I need to understand what they're after. I'll do it." Callan hesitated but finally stepped aside. Alara placed her hands on the crystalline surface. The moment her fingers touched the console, her mind was flooded with knowledge. Images and sensations overwhelmed her. A vast network of interdimensional pathways, a map of the multiverse, and the presence of the entities the Riftborn had fought to contain. These beings were not gods, but remnants of an ancient civilization that had transcended physical existence. Among the visions was the Dominion's plan. They sought to awaken these entities and bargain with them for unimaginable power. But the Riftborn had sealed the entities because their awakening would destroy not just humanity, but every reality tethered to the rift. Alara pulled her hands back, gasping for air. The crystalline console dimmed, its energy spent. "They're not just experimenting with the rift," she said, her voice trembling. "They're trying to unleash something they can't control." Tarask stepped forward, their form flickering with urgency. "Then we must act quickly. The Dominion initiative will not stop. Their hubris will doom us all." Suddenly the vault shuddered. A sharp, mechanical screech echoed through the chamber. "They found us," Kara hissed, drawing her weapon. A group of Dominion enforcers burst into the vault, their weapons glowing with modified rift energy. They opened fire without warning, the vault's crystalline walls absorbing most of the blasts, but cracking under the strain. "Protect the archives." Tarask roared, their form expanding into a shield of light. The team scattered, returning fire as Callan worked to extract the vault's remaining data. Alara ducked behind a crystalline column, her mind racing. They couldn't let the Dominion take the vault's knowledge, or worse, destroy it. "Lynn," she shouted, "can we overload the vault's defenses, drive them out?" Lynn gritted his teeth as he examined the console. "It'll be risky, but I think I can use the vault's energy against them." "Do it." As Lynn worked, the battle intensified. Kara's precise shots held the enforcers at bay, while Tarask shielded Callan. The vault groaned under the strain, its crystalline structure fracturing further. Lynn shouted over the chaos, "It's ready, but we have to go, now." Alara and the others bolted toward the exit as Lynn activated the override. A surge of energy rippled through the vault, consuming the enforcers and sealing the chamber behind them. The team barely made it back to the shuttle as the vault collapsed in on itself, its knowledge safeguarded but now inaccessible. As they soared away from the dying star, Alara gripped the console tightly. The stakes were higher than she'd ever imagined. They had the knowledge to stop the Dominion, but the clock was ticking, and the next battle would determine the fate of not just humanity, but existence itself. The shuttle hung in the cold expanse of space, cloaked in Riftborn energy to evade Dominion detection. Alara stared at the data files they had extracted from the vault, her mind reeling from the enormity of their implications. The knowledge she now possessed painted a chilling picture of the Dominion Initiative's true goals. Callan's voice broke the silence. What you saw, what you now carry, will make you a target. The Dominion cannot allow this knowledge to survive. They won't get the chance, Kara said sharply, leaning against the bulkhead. If they want her, they'll have to go through me. We don't have time for heroics, Lynn interjected. The Dominion is already moving. The vault data pinpoints their next major operation, an assembly site for a second rift gate, far larger than the first. If they complete it, they'll unleash those things Ilara saw. There will be no stopping them. Tarask shifted, their luminous form dimming slightly. The Riftborn will not withstand another rupture. If this second gate is activated, the entities beyond the rift will consume everything. Ilara stood abruptly, the weight of leadership pressing heavily on her. Then we take the fight to them. We have the coordinates. If we strike now, we can destroy the rift gate before it's operational. Kara frowned. That site will be crawling with Dominion forces. Even with Riftborn help, it'll be suicide. We don't have a choice, Ilara replied firmly. If we wait, they'll finish the gate and it's over. No backup plans, no second chances. Callan approached, their glowing appendages flickering with purpose. We Riftborn will aid you. The sacrifice will be ours as well. The Dominion assembly site loomed ahead, a massive orbital station suspended over a gas giant. From a distance, it looked like a metal spiderweb, its central core glowing with unstable rift energy. Swarms of Dominion ships patrolled the perimeter, their formations precise and relentless. In the shuttle, Ilara finalized the plan with her team. Lynn, you and Callan focus on destabilizing the Riftgate core, she instructed. Tarask and I will disrupt the station's command center. Kara, you're on defense. We'll need cover the moment we're detected. Understood, Kara replied, tightening her grip on her rifle. The shuttle approached under the cover of a nearby asteroid belt, its Riftborn enhancements masking their presence. As they neared the station, Callan activated the disruption device, temporarily scrambling the Dominion's sensors. The team docked undetected, slipping into the labyrinthine corridors of the station. The air inside was cold and sterile, the hum of the Riftgate's construction reverberating through the walls. Ilara led the way, her pulse steady despite the danger. As they advanced, Dominion operatives appeared, their armor sleek and their weapons brimming with rift-infused energy. Here we go, Kara muttered, firing the first shot. The corridors erupted into chaos as the team engaged the Dominion forces. Tarask unleashed waves of luminous energy, their Riftborn abilities disorienting the enemy. Callan and Lynn worked feverishly to hack into the station's systems, navigating a maze of Dominion firewalls. Core breach protocols disabled, Callan announced, their voice layered with urgency. We can destabilize the Riftgate from here. Good, Ilara said, her voice tight as she dodged incoming fire. But we need to take out their command center. If they can coordinate reinforcements, we're done. Ilara and Tarask pushed forward, battling through waves of Dominion soldiers to reach the station's control hub. The room was a hive of activity, Dominion officers barking orders and monitoring the Riftgate's progress. Ilara didn't hesitate. She and Tarask stormed the room, taking out the guards with precision. Tarask moved to the main console, their energy surging into the controls. The gate is nearly operational, Tarask warned. I can disrupt their systems, but it will not hold for long. Do it, Ilara ordered, holding off approaching reinforcements. Back at the core, Lynn and Callan finished planting charges on the Riftgate stabilizers. Charges set, Lynn said. Let's move before this place blows. The team regrouped at the docking bay, fighting their way back to the shuttle under heavy fire. Dominion ships scrambled to intercept them, but Kara's precise aim and Tarask's energy blasts held them off long enough to launch. As the shuttle sped away, the charges detonated. The Riftgate core erupted in a cascade of energy, tearing the station apart in a blinding explosion. Elara watched the destruction from the cockpit, her jaw clenched. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. "They'll come for us now," Kara said grimly. "Let them," Elara replied, determination blazing in her eyes. "We're not done yet." The explosion from the destroyed Riftgate station sent shockwaves through space, visible even from the edge of the system. As the shuttle hurtled through the debris field, Elara's grip tightened on the controls. Their mission had succeeded, but at great cost. The Dominion forces would soon retaliate, and the information they had gathered from the Riftborn archives now made them public enemy number one. "We did it," Lynn said, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "But we won't have long before the Dominion catches up." Kellen, sitting nearby, nodded. "The balance has shifted, but the Dominion will not relent. You must be prepared for what comes next. The entities beyond the rift, they will be their next target." Elara's mind raced as she processed the magnitude of the Riftgate's destruction. The Dominion had been so close to unlocking the rift's power, and now, without the Riftgate, they would likely seek another way to access those entities. Humanity was caught in the crossfire of something far greater than any war they had fought before. "We need to regroup," she said, turning to her team. "We can't let them rebuild the Riftgate, and we can't let them find another way to access the entities beyond. We'll have to go after the heart of their operation." Kara, cleaning her weapon with a practiced hand, met Elara's eyes. "And how exactly do we do that?" "By striking where it hurts the most," Elara replied, her voice steely with resolve. "We find Elias Ormond." The name lingered in the air like a curse. Elias Ormond, the shadowy figure behind the Dominion Initiative, the one pulling the strings from the shadows. He was the key to everything, the one who had masterminded the attempts to control the rift, the one who sought to bargain with the ancient entities for power beyond imagining. "We know he's in the core of the Dominion's power," Elara continued. "We have the coordinates from the Riftgate site. If we can get to him, we can stop this for good." Tarask's form flickered with a deep resonance. "The Riftborn will assist, but the Dominion is vast. Ormond's network will not fall easily." Elara clenched her fists. "We don't need to destroy the entire Dominion. We need to take down the heart, the man who controls it all. Once he's gone, the rest of the initiative will crumble." The shuttle sensors pinged suddenly, breaking the silence. A massive Dominion fleet had just dropped out of hyperspace, their ships closing in on their position. "They found us," Lynn said, his voice calm despite the urgency. "We don't have much time." "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Elara barked. "Tarask, Kara, get ready. We're not running. We're going on the offensive." The shuttle veered toward the incoming fleet, its engines roaring as Elara initiated a series of sharp turns and evasive thrusts. The Dominion ships opened fire, their weapons crackly with energy as they pursued. Elara's heart pounded in her chest, but there was no fear in her. The stakes had never been higher. If they didn't strike now, humanity's future was already written. Tarask unleashed a surge of energy from their form, creating a shield around the shuttle, deflecting incoming blasts with shimmering waves of light. Kara fired back with deadly precision, cutting down enemy fighters with unerring accuracy. Lynn worked frantically at the controls, preparing a final escape route. "Elara," Callan said, their voice filled with a mix of urgency and sorrow. "The Dominion is too strong. You must go to Ormond now." Elara nodded. She had known this day would come, the moment where they would have to face the truth. Their mission had always been to prevent the Dominion from unlocking the rift and awakening the entities beyond. But that fight was now leading her straight into the lion's den. "We make our stand here," Elara said, her eyes hardening. "The Dominion has crossed a line. They want the power of gods. We'll show them what happens when they meddle with forces they don't understand." The shuttle broke free of the Dominion fleet's pursuit. plunging into the depths of a nearby nebula where the enemy sensors were temporarily blinded. Alara's heart pounded in her chest, and as the fleet receded in the distance, she knew they had only moments before the final battle would begin. They arrived at Orman's stronghold, a fortress hidden within the heart of a massive asteroid field, well protected and heavily armed. The stakes were clear. This would be the moment where everything was decided. They would either stop the Dominion's plans, or the rift would open, and all would be lost. "Ready?" Kara asked, her voice low, eyes narrowed in focus. "Always," Alara replied, her resolve unwavering. "Let's finish this." The shuttle descended into the heart of the asteroid field, the final confrontation awaiting them. The fate of humanity, and the universe itself, rested on the edge of a blade,